Hiya! Yes! Ah! This video is about your fighting stance, and it's actually so important that I've attached a simile to it. Or is it a metaphor? It's a simile. Fighting is like a game of tag. You know, like when you were a kid and you sort of run around and try to tag each other. That game.
Tag it! Nice.
I didn't even know we were playing.
No, you didn't.
Now the main difference between a fight and a game of tag is that both people are actually trying to tag each other at the same time. That and the fact that you're trying to tag your fists to the other guy's face. Now the cool thing about playing tag was that there's always home base. And if you're in home base or touching home base, you're safe. Nobody can tag you.
Safe. On, off.
Now in fighting, your stance is home base. It's where you're safe. So no matter what you do, if you throw a combination out there, you have to return to home base where you're reasonably safe. Remember, nothing is 100% safe in the game of fighting.
Tag your nuggets.
To build your stance, we're going to start from the ground up, like we do with most things. So if you're a righty, you're going to take your right foot and you're going to put it in the rear. If you're a lefty, you're going to have to reverse that, so your left foot's going to be in the rear. In fact, lefties, you're probably going to have to reverse in your head most of the instructions that I give. And yeah, there's probably a faster way to explain this, but if you set it up the way I'm about to describe, you can't really get it wrong. So take your right toe and put it on the back of your left heel. And I want you to take a look at where your right heel is, and then put your toe back to where your right heel ended. Now, I want you to step wider than shoulder width. So you have the distance of a foot, like 12 inches this way, and then you're wider than shoulder width this way. Now this gives you a really good base. You don't want to end up being too tight. Having your feet at this particular width allows you to easily move forward, backward, and to either side, because I can easily push in any direction. That gives me a lot of mobility. Mobility is like crack to me. You know, once you get it and you're able to move around freely in your stance and you feel good, you just can't get enough of it. Like crack, I guess. Next, your knee should have a pretty good bend in them, but you don't want to squat down too low. You know, you don't need to fatigue your thighs. All you want is to make sure that you have the ability to straighten your leg in order to push into the ground. If my legs are straight, when I'm in my stance, I use the weak muscles in my adductors and abductors in order to push around. If I have my knees bent, I can use the glutes, I can use the quads. I really get the powerful muscles in my legs involved. So you get a nice little bend in your knees. Now that you have the basic positioning set up, you want to add a little bit of movement to it. So I want you to bounce around on your toes. In fact, you never want to end up with your feet flat on the ground. That's really bad. You always need to be bouncing around. Again, it's a mobility thing. If I'm always on my toes, I can always push forward, backward, side to side, or wherever I need to be moving. Now, you don't want to overdo this. You don't need to be jumping. You don't have to get your feet too far off the ground. Don't overdo it, because then you'll tire yourself out. You know, you're not like a 5-year-old at an inflatable bouncy house at a barbecue. You need to be always bouncing on your toes, and you need to be able to do so without getting tired. So it's something you're going to want to practice. People do it by jumping rope, or you can just sit there and bounce around your stance. One way or the other, if you fatigue and you can't bounce around anymore, you lose the ability to push in for an attack, and you, maybe even more importantly, lose your ability to push away to get away from an attack. So stay light on your feet, stay bouncing around, and make sure you can do so effortlessly. As an additional side note, even though we haven't really covered this yet, if you're on your toes, you have the ability to pivot for attacks. As soon as your foot is flat on the ground, it's stuck. I can't pivot anymore, and that means I end up losing a ton of my precious power. This program and this website pays a ton of attention to building power in your strikes, because we love power here, like Scotty from Star Trek.
Captain! I've got to have more power! Damn it! Captain!
Now, if you're a righty, the reason why you take your right hand and you pull it to the rear is because you want to be able to unleash power in that attack. And having it all the way back here and being able to twist into that strike just makes it stronger. But in addition, I want you to realize that if my torso is square to you, it's a very flat, easy surface to strike. If I have my hands up and I take my right foot, put it in the rear, my right hand in the rear, now you can see it angles my torso. So any straight strike that you would be throwing at my body would deflect off. Even if it makes contact with my body, it's not going to hit a super flat surface, and as a result, it's not going to hurt me as badly. That stupid small adjustment in your stance can be the difference between winning and losing a fight. Look how easy it is for you to see the bullseye that you can punch right there and knock my wind out. Making that blow deflect a little bit could save you from that misery. Getting your wind knocked out sucks.
So, what is this scene for again?
It's pretty much just to illustrate how bad it sucks to get your wind knocked out.
Oh, I've never had my wind knocked out of me.
One additional little thing, if my hands are up, you can see my left elbow gets pulled in front of my body, so I have like an additional barrier there as well. By pulling my torso back, boom, I have an elbow in front, that keeps me safe as well. Not to mention, if somebody throws a punch in my body and they end up hitting my elbow, or a kick for that matter, that's gonna hurt him. Man, could you imagine punching an elbow as hard as you can? Jesus, it's probably gonna break your hand. Your elbows are like horrendous little booby traps. Anything that strikes an elbow is definitely gonna feel some pain if it doesn't break altogether. So if a guy tries to rip a big shot to your body and he ends up cracking your elbow instead, I would almost be surprised if he could actually throw another punch with that hand, assuming that this is like a street fight and he doesn't have gloves and wraps on. Now, as far as your arms are concerned, the main thing you need to think about is keeping your hands up. One of the things that I like to do is I pretend like I have two handles, like right below my cheekbones. And I grip those handles, and then I let my arms hang straight down. Now, anytime I throw a punch and my hand leaves that handle, I immediately reach back and re-grab that handle. Also, if you think about kind of hanging your arms off of something, that drops your elbows in. Your elbows, again, protect your body, so all good things. So that's it for your stance. Really focus on this extensively in the beginning. Even if you're thinking about building big power in your crosses and whatnot, pay more attention to your stance until all of a sudden you don't have to. It just becomes embedded into your muscle memory and whatnot. We hope you have enjoyed the nonsense.
In action.
You're recording now.
Yes.
I've got to have more power! Ah! Cut! Captain! I